Okay, you're not seeing things for once and for one time only. I'm going to try filming without glasses. Because I know it reflects. I know it super reflects. I kind of look like one of those oil paintings someone went shmish to. Okay, so maybe that'll calm me down too, because I won't be checking anything else. Now I've got jet black hair. My hair looks jet black to me for some reason. But, welcome. I wanted to make a video on, and I had been meaning to make a video on it before, and I didn't. And I'm sorry, I can't tell if I'm quite looking into camera. And because I'd been going to make it, and I asked Loki, I said, does this sound like a legitimate video? And he just shrugged, because, you know, he doesn't give two meows what people think about him unless they're with him. But, then I saw something that, I was, like, going through random videos, and something came up by Ellen Rickman, and, I like his acting outside of Potter Universe. Because there are a lot of actors like, anyhow, get back on point, Nightcat. And somehow got into Rowling talking about Snape, of whether or not Snape was a hero. And she says, well, of course not. He wasn't a hero because he didn't have a nice personality. Now I'm being very loose with quotation. And I'm thinking, what? She says he's bitter and he's mean and he did all these terrible things. How could he possibly be a hero? I'm thinking, you did read your own books. You did see what everyone else in your books did. You saw what Dumbledore did. You saw what everyone else did. And poor Snape, the gift that probably sold more of your books than Potter, because throw Potter out the window and place a girl or a dust mop or anyone else in his place and people would have still read them. She hated him. She said in the past that he's a gift, but you could tell that whatever she was going through, she wrote these books. He was the one character she just took a strong disliking to. And I think a part of that is she had this idea fixed in her head that a character has to be this nice guy. I'm thinking, well, Missy, come over here. Well, every country has the same thing. I'm thinking, come over here to the U.S. No, I was lucky. I was always raised by my mom. And happy Mother's Day, by the way. To believe that, slavery is wrong and all people created equal. That's like two things Americans should have straight in their head. It's like two basic truths we should have straight in our head. Even though we have freedom of speech and thought and everything else, it's like, that's what I was taught. And that's what I truly believe on my own anyhow. But you go to school and you're taught that the people that founded this country only really meant freedom for white males with a certain amount of money. They didn't mean women, they didn't mean people of color, they didn't mean anybody they didn't like. And by white males, by the way, I mean white English males. I don't mean Irish, I don't mean German, I don't mean anyone they didn't particularly take a liking to at the time. And these people would have freedom as indentured servants, but it wasn't the same class of freedom as the English people in the country. And that's like one of those things we cover up in American history that we just never tell people. And when people in school, when little tiny hands would go up and say, but sir, they were fighting for freedom. How could they have owned slaves? Now, the people that worship these, founding fathers as gods would say, well, shut up, you don't understand. You'll understand when you're older. And the thing was, that's because they were absolute monsters, a lot of them. They believed in their freedom from the English king, is what they believed in. Their freedom to have what they wanted. But, everyone else could, go do what everyone else wanted. But they didn't believe in anyone else's freedom. They believed in their own freedom and the freedom for the people like them. The right religion, the right color, the right nationality. And I bring all that up because as an American, taught the way I was, I didn't come to terms with that. I had to come to terms with the fact that had I been transported back to that time, they wouldn't have thought much of me. I was a Catholic. I was being raised Catholic. And I was a woman. They wouldn't have thought much of me. Wouldn't have had any use for me. Plus, I wasn't English. They wouldn't have had any use for me at all. And you can either see them as complete and total monsters for all the wrong things they did. I'm not going to sit here and defend them for slavery or, not honoring women as equals or any of the other wrong things they did. Or you can say, nice people are never heroes in actual history. The heroes are never, very rarely are they the nice guys. The nice guy is at home having tea, spending family time with his family, treating everyone equally. It's these ambitious, terrible people that have become the heroes in right history because they wanted something for themselves. And it's great to sit here 200 years later and say, oh, they wonderful, weren't they forward thinking? Look at all the diversity they created. They had no idea. They wouldn't have wanted this. That's what have been in the game plan. But that's the thing I think she missed, is that you don't have to be a nice person to be a hero. And getting back to Loki, he's not always nice, is he? He can be nice to you, and I'm not saying that disrespectfully. He can be nice to you most of the time. He can. But, in the stories and some of the stuff he's done, if you've known him for a while, you'll think, he's horrible. Why would anyone say this? Some people won't even say he's God. Some people won't even say he's real. But why would anyone say he's a hero? It's because you don't have to be this shining paragon to be a hero. Often, actually, if you look at literature and you look at stories, the hero is kind of a jerk. He is. Because you have to have that ambition, and you have to have that drive to go after whatever it is, because you're usually going to have a set of challenges to overcome. As I said, the nice guy's going to be at home having tea. If there's a monster ravaging the countryside, the nice guy's going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to have my tea. Let it ravage the countryside. That's quite all right. I'm sure someone else will think of it. And the hero is probably a jerk and, halfway drunk and gets waken up by the neighbor and be like, what? There's a monster ravaging the countryside. What do you want me to do about it? Well, you kill monsters. Ugh. And that's actually what we see in cultures far older than ours and far wiser than ours. Usually the hero is like this incredibly flawed character. Like samurais, for example, they're so drunk they can barely stand, or pirates that are like halfway mercifully decent for once, and then they go back to their old ways. And that's the thing to remember. The Norse gods are never actually presented as good or evil, because that concept was never in the cosmology. You had chaos and order. And Loki is the personification of chaos and a bunch of other things YouTube will never let me talk about ever again. And chaos is like the one thing humans fear. We don't like chaos. If we loved chaos, we would have lawns that look wild and weedy, and we would still live in primordial huts, and we would be out, dancing in streets that aren't paved and everything else. We like our order. We need our order to progress as a society, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so it's very hard to present a chaos god as anything heroic, but at the end of the day, in the classical definition, a hero is just he who goes out, or she, or they, or whatever adjective you want to use, that goes out and does what needs to be done. They aren't this overwhelming paragon of virtue. They're usually a jerk. They're usually flawed. They can actually be a terrible person otherwise. In fact, if you read the classic Greek stories, they can be a really terrible person. They got the wife waiting at home, and they're getting busy with a goddess or something. So, you know, by our standards, they can be a truly horrible person. And so to answer the question, can Loki be a hero? Is Loki a hero? I've never heard him personally refer to himself as such, because it's not in his makeup to be, seemingly, that he's shown me as of yet, to be admired that way. And yet, if you do admire him and you say, you know, you're my hero, and you mean it, I mean, don't, you know, be rude, or you're gonna find out what his personality's really like. He, he will respond well, because he does appreciate people seeing the sacrifices he has made. And he has made a lot of sacrifices if you read our stories. It's just, it's really buried in there, and you have to think when you read Loki's stories, instead of thinking, this man's a village idiot. This god's a village idiot. You have to think about what he's actually up to. What is he giving up? Because he's almost always giving up something in a story. Or if he's not giving up something in that story, he's setting himself up to give up something in a later story and suffer later in the story. I've actually never known a god that, like, it's like I would be almost afraid to see further doings were we to still be writing the tales, because he's almost always like, Loki, what are you doing? Even though he seems like a utter fool, and he seems like an utter troublemaker, he's always setting himself up to sacrifice something or other. So in a way, yes, you can very much say he's a hero, but in a way, if you don't see heroes that way, you don't have to say it, and he's going to pay you never no mind. I mean, it's not something we're required to say, but he can be very heroic. I mean, he can be very heroic in a real life sense. He saved my life on more than one occasion, and that's hero enough to me. And I think that's it at the end of the day. We can go on our stories, but we can also go on, you know, our personal experience with him. And since, you know, that line triggered it, he doesn't always have to be the nice guy. He doesn't have to have that winning hero personality that apparently some people are fixated with. You know, Loki can be Loki, and he can still be your hero. You know, and it can be whatever path, you know, you work with. It can be one of the darker paths. It could be a path that's more cheerful. It can be whatever path you work with, whatever his personality is. That's the personality of your hero. Not all heroes act alike. They don't all come out in that cookie cutter, obnoxious, golly gee, Mrs. Williams personality, thank the gods. We'd be living in a terrible world if they did. So I just wanted to get that out there, and hopefully I haven't been squinting like this the whole entire video. So, if you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe. And I just had to kind of answer that. I'm like, I have to answer her because, one, I've been thinking of making this video for a while, and he didn't mind if I talked about it or not, because, like, at least in my experience, he's like, oh, I don't care what people call me. But, at the same time, I don't like to see something denied him on the basis of, well, it's Loki. Why would you say, you know, give him anything nice? I mean, well, that's just sheer stupidity and sheer stupid people talking. But you know what I mean. If you work with him and you love him, you shouldn't give him things blindly, but you should also be aware that it's not the right of other people to deny him something either. So if he's your hero, that's, you know, that's perfectly valid. He's certainly a hero to me, because, you know, he saved me more than once. And that doesn't mean we don't still fight like cats and dogs. He can have that effect on people. But if you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. And hopefully the blind as a bat lady can turn this off. And I will see you soon. Bye-bye.